Have you ever wondered what truly keeps a man awake at night? Not the challenges of work or money, not even the visible struggles that everyone sees, but the silent fears that echo in the quiet moments when he is alone? Have you ever sensed a distance you couldn't explain, a hesitation in his words, or an invisible wall around his heart? There is a world of feeling inside most men that rarely reaches the surface, a world shaped not by bravado, but by questions, doubts, and silent burdens that almost no one ever notices. Imagine a man sitting on the edge of his bed in the darkness, staring into the shadows. The day is done, and with it goes the mask he wears for the world, confident, unshakable, strong. Beneath that mask, there are secret fears-old companions he never learned to name out loud, fears of not being enough, fears of letting down those he loves, fears that, no matter how hard he tries, he will never measure up to the man he thinks he's supposed to be. From the outside, he might seem solid and composed. Friends may see his jokes, his focus, his steady presence. Women may notice his silence, his patience, his ability to handle things. But beneath it all, there is often an undercurrent of doubt. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I fail? What if the people who depend on me find out I'm just as lost as they are? Few people ask men about their fears, and even fewer listen without judgment. Society teaches boys early, be tough, don't cry, man up. By adulthood, most men have become experts at hiding their pain, even from themselves. The result is a quiet suffering that rarely finds words, an invisible weight carried behind a smile or a stoic expression dot. And yet, these fears do not disappear just because they are denied. They shape the way men love, the way they work, the way they parent, the way they dream or give up on dreams. These fears can build walls in relationships, hold men back from intimacy, or drive them to chase approval in ways they can never quite explain. Sometimes, women notice something is wrong, but misunderstand the silence. Sometimes, other men sense it, but have no language to ask about it. But the truth is, every man has fears, some small and fleeting, others deep and lifelong. They are not a sign of weakness, but of humanity. To be a man is to carry both strength and uncertainty, to walk through the world with courage, even while the heart is trembling. If you are a man who recognizes these hidden fears, know you are not alone. If you love a man, realize that there is more beneath the surface than you may ever see. This is the story of the secret fears. Men have fears that deserve to be heard, understood, and ultimately healed. To truly understand the secret fears men carry, we have to travel back to childhood, to culture, to the very roots of masculinity itself. From the earliest days, boys are taught an unspoken code. Strength means survival. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is a risk. Little boys who cry are comforted at first, but soon hear a different message. Don't be weak. Toughen up. Big boys don't cry. With every repetition, the lesson is written deeper. Your fears are not safe to share. Philosophers have written for centuries about the masks people wear, the personas we build to survive the gaze of society. Carl Jung called it the persona, the face we show to the world to hide our truest, most fragile selves. For men, this persona often looks like confidence, decisiveness, or even indifference. But underneath, the pressure to live up to an impossible standard creates its own anxiety. The fear of being found out as not enough, not strong enough, not successful enough. The root of many secret fears is cultural conditioning. Society, families, and even romantic partners may expect men to be providers, protectors, problem solvers. Men are told their worth is proven through action, what they achieve, how well they provide, how unbreakable they appear. When failure comes, as it inevitably does for every human being, it doesn't feel like just a setback. It can feel like an existential threat to a man's identity. The result? Fears that are locked away, unspoken, and sometimes even denied within. Even the greatest minds have written about this paradox. Friedrich Nietzsche observed, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster." The monster, for many men, is the fear of failure, of emotional exposure, of not living up to their own or others' ideals. To protect themselves, men armor up not only against the world, but against their own vulnerability. Modern psychology backs this up. Research shows that men who suppress their emotions or refuse to acknowledge their fears are more likely to suffer in silence, to experience loneliness, anxiety, or even depression. But admitting fear, in a culture that equates manhood with invincibility, feels like a betrayal of everything they've been taught. Yet, the truth is that real courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. The philosophers and poets who explored the human condition have always known this. It's not just men who struggle to reveal their hearts, but men have been uniquely conditioned to keep their fears hidden, even from themselves. So the next time you wonder why a man seems distant, distracted, or silent, consider that there may be fears beneath the surface, fears inherited from a world that has rarely made space for their voices. And for men themselves, recognizing the root of these fears is not weakness. It is the first step toward authentic strength and freedom. If you look closely at the rhythms of everyday life, you'll find that the secret fears of men often surface not in grand confessions, but in subtle behaviors and quiet struggles. They hide in the long hours at work, the silence after an argument, the hesitation before sharing an honest thought. While the world teaches men to stand tall and carry on, few realize just how much of that strength is driven by silent worry, self-doubt, and the ever-present fear of being not enough. Many men carry the fear of failing as providers or protectors. It's the worry that a single mistake, lost job, missed opportunity, emotional setback will make them unworthy in the eyes of those they love. You'll see it in the way a father pushes himself to exhaustion, or in how a young man second-guesses every career move. Even in romantic relationships, this fear can drive men to become distant or defensive, hiding insecurity behind humor, anger, or withdrawal. Then there's the fear of vulnerability, of opening up only to be misunderstood or dismissed. Men often sense that their pain is unwelcome, that tears are for the weak, and that talking about their fears will only push others away. As a result, men might choose silence over honesty, bottling up their struggles until the pressure turns into quiet resentment, numbness, or even health problems. Some of the most powerful fears are about intimacy itself, the fear that if someone truly saw what lies beneath the surface, they'd walk away. This creates a paradox where men crave connection, but hide their deepest selves to avoid rejection. Partners may wonder why a man is emotionally unavailable, not realizing that behind the wall is a heart desperate to be accepted, but terrified of being exposed as not enough. Friendships among men can reflect this too. Jokes and banter replace heartfelt conversations. When the rare man tries to speak honestly about what hurts, he's often met with discomfort, silence, or advice to get over it. The social script is clear. Keep it light, keep it strong. Never admit you're scared. Even women who care deeply for the men in their lives often miss these signals. When a man pulls away or seems withdrawn, it's easy to read it as indifference or coldness. But beneath the surface, it's often fear of disappointing, of not providing, of being misunderstood. The sad truth is that most men have never been given the language or the permission to express their real struggles. These invisible fears shape families, friendships, workplaces, and whole cultures. When they go unspoken, they breed misunderstanding, distance, and cycles of emotional isolation. When men are finally asked about their fears, the relief is palpable. Someone sees them. Someone cares enough to ask. And in that moment, the walls begin to crumble, and real connection becomes possible. What happens when a man begins to recognize the fears he has hidden for so long? The process is rarely smooth and never easy. For most, the first feeling is discomfort, a sense of disloyalty to the code of silence that's been written into manhood since childhood. To admit fear, even privately, is to step outside the armor, to risk judgment, and to confront the possibility that strength isn't what he thought it was. There is a real cost to awakening to these secret fears. First comes the inner conflict. Part of him wants to let go, to speak, to finally rest from carrying so much weight. Another part is terrified of what might happen if he does. Old voices echo, "Don't be weak. People will lose respect for you. If you're honest, you'll be rejected." The struggle is not just emotional, it's existential, calling into question everything he has learned about what it means to be a man. If he does choose to open up, the reactions from others can be mixed. Some friends or loved ones may be supportive, but others may feel uncomfortable, unsure how to respond, or may even pull away. The culture of Stoicism has trained many to avoid emotion, to distrust vulnerability. When a man expresses fear, he risks misunderstanding, isolation, or worse, the fear that his honesty will be used against him. In relationships, the cost can show up as temporary distance. A partner may not know how to hold space for a man's pain, having never seen it before. Old patterns may surface: withdrawal, irritability, or emotional shutdown. But beneath these behaviors, the truth is that men are wrestling with their own worthiness, questioning whether it's truly safe to be seen, flaws and all. For some, awakening to secret fears brings a wave of grief, mourning years lost to emotional hiding, missed opportunities for closeness, and relationships that never reached their full depth. There is sadness for the boy who learned too early to be tough, and for the man who kept his heart locked away. Sometimes there is anger, too, at the world, at parents, at themselves for not knowing another way. Yet, as difficult as it is, this awakening is not only painful, it is liberating. With every honest word, every risk to be vulnerable, the armor cracks, light comes through, the burden lessens. Men who do the inner work find that, over time, their relationships grow deeper, their sense of self expands, and their inner world becomes less hostile. The cost of awakening is real: discomfort, uncertainty, even loss. But the reward is authenticity, peace, and the possibility of finally being loved and accepted for who they truly are, not just for the mask they've worn. In the end, the bravest thing a man can do is to face the fear that has lived unnamed for too long. In doing so, he not only heals himself, but offers hope and permission for others to do the same. But out of this struggle, something remarkable can begin to grow. When a man finally names his fears and allows himself to feel them, he discovers a new kind of strength, one built not on denial, but on radical honesty. He learns that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward in spite of it. The journey from silence to self-expression is never easy, but every step into authenticity changes everything. For the first time, he may look in the mirror and see not just the mask he's worn for the world, but the whole person underneath, flawed, human, and worthy. In this space of acceptance, shame starts to lose its grip. He realizes that his fears are not proof of weakness, but proof of his depth, his care, his desire to be a good partner, father, friend, or son. Instead of running from these fears or hiding them, he can meet them with understanding and even compassion. This is the real power of vulnerability. When a man owns his fears, he takes control of his story. He becomes the author of his own masculinity, no longer defined by outdated scripts or rigid expectations. He learns to set boundaries, to ask for support, and to give himself permission to rest. He discovers that he is allowed to feel anger, sadness, love, confusion, and that these feelings do not make him less of a man, but more fully human. As he begins to share his truth with others, the world responds in unexpected ways. Some relationships may grow deeper, richer, more real. Partners may finally see the man behind the armor and respond with their own honesty. Friendships can become places of real connection, where laughter and struggle coexist without judgment. Even strangers, witnessing vulnerability, can feel a quiet invitation to be more honest with themselves. Empowerment also means recognizing that not everyone will understand. Some will still expect the old performance, and some may walk away. But by living in alignment with his true self, a man becomes less concerned with pleasing everyone and more focused on living with integrity and peace. He becomes a quiet revolutionary, challenging the myths of masculinity and inviting others to do the same. So here is the call. If you are a man who knows these fears, let today be the day you stop running from them. Find the courage to name them, to share them, to seek support. If you love a man, hold space for his vulnerability, invite honesty, listen deeply, and respond with kindness. The world does not need more invulnerable men. It needs more honest men willing to lead with their hearts as well as their hands. Because when one man dares to break the silence, he lights the way for others to follow. And in that light, healing and connection become possible for everyone. So, what do we take from this journey into the hidden landscape of men's fears? The truth is, these silent struggles are far more common and far more human than most of us realize. Beneath every quiet moment, every confident smile, every act of strength, there is often a heart learning to live with questions, doubts, and hopes that are rarely spoken aloud. But awareness is only the first step. Healing and growth require action. If you're a man carrying these secret fears, it's time to remember, you are not alone. Millions of men wake up every day feeling the same uncertainties about worth, love, success, and being understood. This doesn't make you less, it makes you real. The first act of courage is simply to notice your fears, to honor them as part of your story, not something to hide or erase. Consider sharing your truth, maybe with a trusted friend, a partner, or even by writing it out just for yourself. Notice the relief that comes from honesty, the slow release of tension when you stop pretending. It won't always be easy. There will be moments of awkwardness, maybe even pushback from others. But each time you speak, you reclaim a piece of your authentic self and lay the groundwork for deeper connection. If you love a man, whether as a partner, friend, parent, or sibling, practice seeing past the surface. Ask gentle questions. Offer your presence, not just your solutions. Listen when he does speak, and let him know it's safe to show you the parts of himself he spent a lifetime hiding. Your patience and understanding can be the difference between silence and healing, between loneliness and belonging. Society, too, is slowly beginning to change. As more men speak out about their inner lives, as more stories are told and heard, the culture of silence weakens. We are beginning to understand that vulnerability is not the opposite of strength, it's the foundation of it. Real relationships, real success, and real peace come when we lay down the old armor and dare to be known as we are. So here's your invitation. If you feel fear, let it teach you. If you need help, reach out. If you want change, be the one to start the conversation, because the world needs men who are brave enough to tell the truth about what it means to be human. Needs men who are willing to love and be loved, even with their doubts and fears. When you honor your own journey, you inspire others to do the same, and together, you help create a world where no one has to hide behind silence ever again. Secret fears men have are not a flaw, they are an invitation. An invitation to greater honesty, deeper connection, and lasting freedom. The story isn't over. It's just beginning.